Bobi Wine, is it a revolution or victory? I warned this government. I wrote 2 books telling them Bobi Wine is not interested in power, but Bobi Wine is coming to ignite a revolution against this government. Of course. But the government reacted to Bobi Wine, banning his music garage, of course, subjecting it to ridicule. People are given money to attack Bobi Wine as a musician. Not even attacking, abusing him day out, day in. Homosexuality, buying musicians, giving them postcards. I did not participate in this battle of attacking Bobi Wine. But the intelligence, Museveni's intelligence, would have told him that things were not good. Who dragged Museveni into this thing of opening cages, torture chambers for the opposition? No. Because he's denying the NRM does not stand for torture. These people, in order to get money from Museveni, the intelligence create artificial reports, fake reports, thinking that they could put me in their underpants. I said, if you people think that you can contain me in your underpants like testicles, I can expand into Panama. The Bible says one of us will kill the other. Have you read the Bible? The Bible says one of us, me and Mwenda, will kill the other. Is it true? Yes. Does the Bible talk about you and Mwenda? The Bible is clear. One of us will kill the other. Bobi Wine, I wrote 2 books about Bobi Wine. My first book about Bobi Wine, I published it in 2017. Bobi Wine, is it a revolution or victory? I warned this government. I still wonder where you got the wisdom to predict what had not happened. I predicted that Bobi Wine, because you predicted this revolution. I did the international relations at the university. I know how the trending change. People are talking about Afghanistan, that the Americans have abandoned Afghanistan. No, the message is clear. You become a state and you have obligations as a state. Let the Taliban become a state and violate their status as a state. The Americans will go back and hit them. Of course. Yes. You don't risk American sons. You don't risk NATO sons, German sons, British soldiers. No. When you violated your status as a state and you allowed the Bobi Wine to use the Afghan state, we came, removed you from power and killed the Bobi, this man. Do you believe, strongly believe, that the American, when you go to the Pentagon, all the countries that have been defeated by American armies, the American military, their flags are there in the Pentagon. Do you believe that Mineral's body was actually thrown into the sea? It is not true. These people knew that if they declared that Bin Laden's body was taken to USA, his followers would pressurize, would engage in terrorism activities to force the Americans to vomit the body. This is why the Americans said, we don't have the body. You wait. In 50 years, Bin Laden's body will be displayed publicly in Washington. This is very valuable. There was no way this would be put in a casket and thrown into the sea. An intelligent man like me, you cannot tell me this. So Afghanistan, we removed you from power because you see a state. Why is it that Pakistan does not engage now in terrorism? Because the states have obligations. The moment you are married, even if you are a prostitute, you must abandon your past. You become Umlokole. Of course. The Taliban we are free to do many things. Why? They were non-state actors. The moment the Taliban take a power in Afghanistan, then they become a state actor.
Of course.
Which must follow obligations.
Are you trying to tell me now America is free to live because the Taliban are going to behave?
Yes, because they are now a state. At what cost? This is the problem of relying heavily on America. Because American presidents change every day.
Of course,
4 years,
yes.
or 8 years.
Someone comes with a new policy.
Biden is coming with a new policy. Obama came to power with the disengagement. This is why they retained the gates. Because in Britain, the equivalent of a command sought an early retirement. Because the Tony Blair government was for deployment. And the new government wanted to reduce because the British economy could not sustain this. So therefore, what am I driving at? I'm telling you that you must understand the international trend. When Bobi Wine came, he made a statement which many Museveni's supporters, ministers, army commanders, and police commanders didn't understand. Bobi Wine said, I'm coming to strip you naked.
He did not even say he came to win an election. He said
no.
This is a mission.
His mission was Kubamulisa. And when I said that Bobi Wine fits in a people, in a group of people that the United States is using to destroy what they call dictatorial regimes. What about this girl? A university student that overthrew
the Sudanese government.
I said, what about this Prime Minister of India? India.
Modi.
At one time, Modi was an outcast. They killed the Hindu girl in one of the trains in India, mobilized the Hindus and ravaged it. An Islamic village, 300 people. Immediately defeated the Congress party. The Americans, the British, the French withdrew the isolation sanction they had put on Modi. Modi had fought corruption in Gujarat, in his home area. That's why, and they predicted in my book that we will get Iran Shirai. I also pointed out that what about Uhuru Kenyatta? When Uhuru Kenyatta stood for presidential election the first time, the newspapers carried his photos with the reddish eyes, that he was always a drunkard. He spent more time in bars. They even said that because of his snobbish upbringing, Uhuru could not hold a hoe. I predicted in the same book that Uhuru will get a second term. Has been a celebrated Minister of Finance, President, and wants to get a second term. I talked about Magufuli. I said Magufuli will get a second term. Why? Magufuli fights corruption. Pombe. Do you know what his name means? Pombe Magufuli. Pombe in Kiswahili pombe means beer. Either he derived his name from his drinking habits, or he was always talking about beer. Pombe Magufuli. Pombe. Many people, my detractors in Uganda used to say that I'm a drunkard. Was I a drunkard? I used to resort. If a drunkard can fight you and defeat you, those who don't drink, then he starts drinking the type of beer I drink. I defeated the arrogant fellows. He's a drunkard. He's a fool. He's what? I'm more intelligent than you. I'm naturally gifted.
Let me ask you, is Bobi Wine that strong to be a darling
what
of the
was
Americans?
Yes. In politics they tell us that if we want to kill a tiger, dress like a pig. The Baganda have a saying, the Baganda also have a saying, ewafiira omuzeeti wabansiitaano that wherever people don't die in fierce battles. Savimbi Nyakairima Awa Jakairima Kazindi Alexander the Great it's a joke. Great people, heroes, celebrated military officers
don't die in serious battle.
No. Because they disappear like shadows. Savimbi, who cut off half of Angola, Huambo, even had the Air Force, had everything, had ambassadors. How did he die? He allowed his soldiers to go, remained with a woman who was performing witchcraft, and was killed and buried in a shallow grave like a dog. So Marshall, how did Marshall die? Marshall of Mozambique. So the Waganda, where I belong, my tribe, they were warned, a man like me, I will not die in a fierce battle. I will not die in an accident, a snake bite. I can die in a snake bite, I can fall off my bed, you know. Fierce people, brave people like me, we don't die in the fierce battles. Malaria, the mosquito will kill me. So don't expect mirundi.
COVID.
I will not be assassinated. That one I know. Assassinating me will make a big news. But I will die a simplistic disease. I will die in a simplistic incident.
Let me pray. It's not
over drinking. If I was drinking, as these people say. So now, because these people don't know the international friend, Mugabe has gone. By the time the president came to power, we had Habyarimana, we had Mukutu Sese Seko, we had Mubaraka, we had Moi, we had Mengistu, we had Saidi Pare, we had all African dictators. But we had Kaunda and Nyerere. Some like Nyerere decided to go earlier. Nyerere decided to go when he was popular. Kaunda was trounced by Chiruba. Moi decided to go and form the strategy by supporting a younger Kikuyu to force the opposition to sponsor Nordic Kikuyu, because he knew that these people would not accept to rule Kenya by proxy. He refused to retire. But eventually, the person he identified, by the time he died, was the president. Bashir was, there is no popular president who has ever ruled Sudan than Bashir. Any president of Sudan who contemplated dividing the country into two, granting the southern Sudan independence, would be overthrown. But this man, Bashir, disengaged from it. At one time, Bin Laden was in Sudan. I remember when Clinton ordered the destruction of a chemical industry that had been made by the Sudanese government as a hospital, a pharmaceutical assumption. Museveni was informed. Clinton informed Museveni that we are going to destroy your cruise missiles, are going to destroy a Sudanese chemical industry. But this man disengaged from Trabi, his religious mentor. He tried to make reforms. He allowed the southern Sudan to go to gain independence. Where is he now? It's a question of time.
They are taking him to ICC.
Yes. The people he appointed, his close relatives, close generals. Why? Mubaraka was taken to the hospital on a stretcher when he was gasping for breath. His Muzungu wife was taken to Britain. And I don't know whether she came back to see her husband.
Now, Mzee, why is this Museveni issuing a panic statement?
What I'm telling you,
panic statement.
Yes, that when you look at these people, Gaddafi was killed by a boy. Sudan, the Sudanese president was over all the rebellion was organized by a female student. In an Arab country, how can women who are not even supposed to get out of to see their faces? How can a female student ignite a rebellion against it?
How can that person pioneer
a
revolution?
In Egypt, it was the same.
The top of the
it was not the Islamic Brotherhood, because if the Islamic Brotherhood ignited the rebellion, then the American policymakers would fear that the Islamic Brotherhood. This is why the president who took over from Mubarak, although was an American trained engineer, but because he was an Islamic from the Islamic Brotherhood, he died in prison. Who took power? Who made sure that Mubarak was humiliated to the bone marrow? It was his former, the man he had appointed as commander, as a commander, who became a president, transformed. It's called the Sisi. So the government, I wrote 2 books telling them Bobi Wine is not interested in power, but Bobi Wine is coming to ignite a revolution against this government.
Of course.
But the government reacted to Bobi Wine, banning his music garage,
of course,
subjecting it to ridicule. People are given money to attack Bobi Wine as a musician.
Not even attacking, abusing him day out, day in.
Homosexuality, buying musicians, giving them postcards. I did not participate in this battle of attacking Bobi Wine. I told them that the only way of handling Bobi Wine is to make him Museveni's leading council. How? If Bobi Wine goes to an area and you see a high turnout, then take their investigators to find out what those people want, because these people don't want to remove Museveni. But they are telling Museveni that, like in the French Revolution, many people did not want the kingdom to go. This is why the Lafayette is even created in Kufira with an emblem of the king. They are still loyal to the king until the king decided to go to join the emigres to bring it, to come back as an administrative king. He was caught on the way, killed with the queen. So I say the only way of handling Bobi Wine is allowing him, but we had COVID, it was vital. But the intelligence, Museveni's intelligence, would have told him that things were not good. How can you lock up Lake Victoria? Lake Victoria, the second largest lake, shared by several countries, but it was closed. The military was deployed. Fishermen were killed. Their importer was taken. That's one. You go to Busoga, sugar cane. Busoga depends on the sugar cane. The sugar cane also. Middlemen were created, and their appeals to the president were not responded to. The same Lake Victoria. Ugandans have survived bad regimes because they were engaging in the private sector. Markets were invaded. Tax parks were invaded.
I want to know, who dragged Museveni into this thing of opening cages, torture chambers for the opposition?
No.
Because he's denying the NRM does not stand for torture.
For me, I know. And this is the reason why
who dragged him into this.
My son was battered. Me, I know. These people, in order to get money from Museveni, the intelligence create artificial reports, fake reports. If you want to get money, if you're a mini man, who doesn't want to give your children and wife money, he can bring thieves to attack you. They create cases where you must give money. People know, those who work with Museveni, they know that Museveni only releases money when there is a problem. This is why Museveni's committed people like me have not benefited. I'm not a mercenary. Museveni's system operates on mercenaries. We people who are loyal to him, doesn't have, which job are you talking about? The job of one minute. No,
when they fake reports, doesn't Museveni have a counter
all of them,
intelligence
team, military intelligence, and he so connived and faked a report.
Hey.
That
there was even conniving.
Yes, that they told the president that Bobi Wine's supporters, especially the youth, were going to attack the city and burn it.
That's what they
following say. The area when Bobi Wine was arrested. So they sent a report to the president. The president told them, let us have a preemptive solution. Arrest the ring leaders, arrest them, take them to contested areas, talk to them, teach them skills, and we give them money to disengage from violence. That was Museveni's word.
But was it, did it mean taking them to safe house?
Because two people, it had the problem in Uganda. The succession battle is inside the Museveni's parish. We call it Akazu. When people believe that it is only we who can succeed the president. So two people were fighting. Another one was fighting. But what you are jogging about the most ambitious man. These people knew that Muhozi was commanding the special forces. They planted bad elements, wrong elements in this operation. This is why
the drone operation.
During the elections, I came up and said, why is Muhozi quiet? Because all of the tweets show that the battle is reduced between Muhozi and Bobi Wine. Do you know that I rang Bobi Wine to tell him, please Bobi Wine, don't travel to Kayunga. You are going to be assassinated. The group that was led by Birungi was commanding the special forces. And when Birungi was sacked and sent to Kenya, his group that was bent on assassinating Bobi Wine remained intact. This is why, how could Bobi Wine be attacked after nomination in the premises of the Electoral Commission?
That's what we are asking.
I always ask it. What type of chairperson of the Electoral Commission who could allow to nominate a man who was barefooted? This man was laughed up at the Amawulire was laughed up by security. Bobi Wine was laughed up, was beaten up in the premises.
We hear he was laughed up.
Who was doing this?
At the FDC place.
Who was doing this? And for what purpose? Somebody was inside the government. Somebody was inside the government and wanted the blame to go to offend the Muhozi. Many people believe that I'm a Muhozi supporter. To the contrary, I have never talked to Muhozi. Even when I was in the State House, me, I avoid mixing with Museveni's relatives.
Why?
The only time I contacted one of Museveni's sisters is when somebody inside government wanted to kill me, and sent thugs to finish me. And when I alerted the president's sister, they withdrew. And they were given 50 million shillings because I was supposed to be killed at a cost of 100 million. When I alerted the president's sister Mariam and told her I'm in danger because I once worked with her when I was still in the State House, the response, and I rang two generals who responded very quickly. I have allies in the army and the government, but the thugs had already arrived. I was supposed to be assassinated at my gate, but these people were arguing. We don't have silencers. What's our escaping
channels?
They even calculated that from Kajansi to Chibuye, because my house is at Zana, that they counted even the
exits,
the security vehicles, the police vehicles. Such they were arguing, I picked their conversation and plans through my machine signals. And I informed, I said, even the policemen they deployed, who came immediately, I rang these people. I showed him the photo because I get video and the audio. I'm capable of getting the audio and the video.
Mzee, I'm wondering the kind of training we hear that Muhozi has is failure to detect that people are planting people in his own force.
The special forces were infiltrated for future purpose. Beating Bobi Wine was done for future purpose. This is why I'm telling you that the battle was in the palace.
We hear Moses is very well trained. He has a lot of sources of information. How do they infiltrate?
Muhozi had been removed from special forces to a senior advisor on special duties that was given to Waboko recently. Muhozi was on Katebe, some sort of Katebe. Until Virunji, until I pointed out that if Bobi Wine is assassinated, he will plunge the country into a civil war.
Of course.
I write it in my book that you see, most of the people, the DPCs, the district police commanders, who are harassing Bobi Wine come from one ethnic group, making it as if Bobi Wine is fighting that ethnic group. How could a policeman, a short police woman, deny Bobi Wine access to Kiriandongo, where they paid his money? You would see their faces. Ugandans could recognize. So I say, you are going to plunge this country into a civil war. Why? The battle to stop Bobi Wine, to undermine. How Bobi Wine has been cleared by the Electoral Commission. Why do they frustrated him
moving around?
Yes. Before you become a presidential candidate, you must consult. He was prevented from consulting. A constitutional right. That how do you get the signatures that will vote you, support you to get to be endorsed as a presidential candidate? Whenever Bobi Wine went, subject to truth. Before Bobi Wine is beaten up at the headquarters of the Electoral Commission, and which embarrassed. The situation was saved when the president moved in and sacked Birungi as the head of the president. But Museveni's intervention did not help his son, because his son took over and already infiltrated the army. Brigade.
I see.
Muhozi agenda taking over. Nga bamaze infiltrating Kasai A. Because I can tell you, Bobi Wine came here and sat there. I sat with Bobi Wine 3 times. And I maintain a close contact with Bobi Wine. I think Bobi Wine wrongly believed, even those people, wrongly believed that I would be rewarded in Bobi Wine's camp. They told the president that your son has closed the right. Why? He's supporting Bobi Wine. Museveni told them, Mirundi is a highly intelligent man. He's one of the best philosophers we have in this country. Mirundi is not supported. In fact, President Museveni sent to me 2 generals to explain my assertion that the tear gas was powered to undermine Museveni and then other candidates. I talked to the 2 generals. When those people went to undermine me before Museveni, that I had joined Bobi Wine, because my children had joined Bobi Wine. Museveni told them.
But what really were you doing with Bobi Wine?
Exactly. Knew.
It wasn't political
contrary
support.
to what you people know. I don't have a person who comes up to contest elections must be encouraged in Africa.
Of course.
Why do I fight Bobi Wine? If Ugandans decide that it's time for Bobi Wine, because I told you that the battle had been reduced to 2 inside the Museveni's palace. But Bobi Wine, when Bobi Wine came, these 2 people did not disengage themselves from their battle. They thought that Bobi Wine was a weak man. This is why they ignore banjoge bakomewo banjoga obujozi bwabwe banjoge mbakolera kuki they work for free. Museveni ataddewo akakiiko ajja akakolereko nalinja but I was going to kill you people. How can you humiliate me? You have not paid my debt of 700 million. Mbongende mkakiiko kabwe kati ndimbwa to take advantage of my popularity. I refuse. I refuse, and I will never work with these people again. I swear by the Almighty God. Whenever you need us, we come. When we need us, we come. I will go naked. I will walk naked. I will go back to my home and make bricks. But I will never work with these people again to humiliate me again. These stupid people that we can only use him when it comes to our advantage. The problem Museveni is having now is that the security had been infiltrated, and the international community now demands accountability. Of course. But Museveni's biggest challenge is this: were these people doing all of these things without the knowledge of the president? Because the president was showing footages. Wherever he came for speeches, yes, he would show footage. Yes, trying to imply that the public had and this one something had occurred earlier, and the president had made his comments earlier. But Mzee, when 50 people were shot, Museveni came out and said he gave the order. Is that what he said? Yes. How does he come back again in reverse and says that it is wrong? What I'm saying, the government lacks spin doctors. Because for us, they think that they can use us whenever they want as toilet paper. We are not toilet paper. We are highly intelligent people. We have demonstrated that we supported this government. My mother was almost lynched, but the way I was rewarded was humiliating because it was not Museveni. These people thought I could smash their heads with the hammer. Can smash his head. Who is this idiot? The idiot moves from Rwanda. The idiot talks. He talks like a child, and it doesn't make sense. When you cut it, that boy will be killed here. Mwenda has destroyed Museveni's government. Thinks that he's intelligent. What intelligence do you have? This is a failure. Total failure. You say a fool. Mwenda is a fool. The Bible says one of us will kill the other. Have you read the Bible? The Bible says one of us, me and Mwenda, will kill the other. Is it true? Yes. Does the Bible talk about you and Mwenda? The Bible is clear. One of us will kill the other. Are you serious? Bible because the boy is a conman. Conman. He has been the one who is confusing the people. The intention was to get money and undermine Muhozi. Because at that time they knew what were insiders that the brigade that would be deployed would be the special forces to handle such delicate issues. And they planted people in the special force, special brigade. This is why international agencies like CIA have their photos. Two, these people were arrested in daylight, meaning that cameras, journalists would be alerted, be in a particular place, a vehicle, a drone is going to pick somebody who was inside. It means that the planning of the special forces had been infiltrated because all of their operations were covered. Two, how do you take limping suspects to court? Where you expect when you take them to court, you expect
journalists,
representatives of media institutions, both foreign and local. You are expecting people from international human rights groups. So who can do this? Who is this for? I was explaining to my mother. My mother is 90 years. But Mu is a crippled because I'm a supporter of Museveni. And Museveni has never given her anything, which pains me. And my mother told me, if you had not joined the Museveni's government, I wouldn't be moving the way I'm moving. It pains me. He is a cripple because he was attacked, and the way he was rewarded, maybe God will reward him. God will reward him. Never to answer something. Kakati nkugamba. Timbadde mbulya mamange ne mugamba. In the village, do you remember in the villages? Her memory comes and it goes. That's what I've discovered. And I have to shout at her. But as a kid, I cannot shout at my mother. Unless she tells me she will eat there. I've not heard. So this morning I talked to her. I say, Mom, do you remember that by the time we grew up, many women used to die, married women used to die a chikutuko. A chikutuko meant sudden death. Because men battered their wives, even pregnant wives, kicking them, they would inflict injuries in dangerous parts of the body. Because these people, these peasants, who used to batter their wives, could fear to take them to hospitals to be arrested. Many of them died in the process. They would hire the local bishop people. We had a famous man called Nkwizanzabe. Nkwizanzabe means let me treat you, but it comes to, he was a Muziba from Tanzania. A Muganda will tell you Kujanjabe. But because this man was a man from Tanzania, a Muziba, he would say Nkwizanzabe. So Nkwizanzabe used to mix cassava with the PPF and others. And because at times these women used to get the local herbs, they would do chua. Kakati mamange mugambi, do you remember that many married women who are subject to battering used to die? I also told her, do you know what is happening currently? Many parents who try to discipline their children by caning them, burning their fingers, especially those who engage in stealing sauce and what. Do you know what happens? They are taken to police stations for fear of being punished by the police. Do you know what they do? They hide them and they die. So I told her, how can a trained intelligence officer, a general, take suspects to court in daylight when they are limping? What is chasing you? Is there a habeas corpus that the court has directed you that you must produce this suspect under such a period? Why don't you torture him, but take him to court after hearing? When somebody who is healed goes to court and tells the court, I was tortured, then the court will say, let us consult an expert. How can you tell a limping person to a court of law where you are expecting the media, the international media, and the representatives of embassies, and this was intended to undermine Museveni? So it was a strategy. The Bazungu say there are many ways of cutting, skinning. Yes, there are many ways of overthrowing this government. These people who are doing these things are not Museveni supporters. The people who are doing these things want Museveni regime to be exposed by Amawulire, to be isolated and Museveni to fall into the category of dictators who should be removed.
Hey.
Yes.
Have they prepared the success?
Yes, I'm telling you, these are insiders. You cannot, if the constitution of Uganda outlaws torture, any evidence adduced during coercion and torture is fake. Why do they torture? Why do they torture? Why do they beat journalists? Why do they attack the public? Why do you do all of these necessary things in the presence of the cameras? Who invites these journalists? People inside the government. Museveni is going to be toppled by his own.
There is something that you normally say. It's called preparing the public for bad news.
Yes.
People are saying Museveni might be preparing the public
for bad news. That one I know. That now we call them conclusive statements. If Museveni says that these people worked away from the normal rules and violated the rules, and now so these people are going to be punished. This is what is happening. But the public is asking, how long has the president been? Has he been aware? Is he a Muslim who has gone to hijab? So this is what the spin doctors, you see, being misled is common.
But do you think Mzee, however much
kasajja kwa mwindo obuvubuka bwatugoba ne bujoga ofona bujoga ne bubba sente n'abukiririzamu. Let me tell you,
Mzee, however much you can spin,
can you spin such a situation? Nebulowooza tuli basiru, thinking that we are fools. Let me
however much someone is a spin doctor, can they spin such a situation?
Are we fools to work for you? Let me give you 2 examples where you need spin doctors. People like me. Ninga balowooza mbufe bajja kutujoga nga bujozi bwe balya ssente waliwo bamidimani abalya ssente. Let me tell you, the BBC came up with a story that British soldiers were involved in torturing people in Iran. It attracted a lot of anger from the public. And you see, when these soldiers from advanced countries go back, they demonstrate to the cities to attract more recruits. The soldiers don't die. In America, they dropped through parachutes. The British soldiers were pelted with the stones when they went back. So the equivalent of your army commander had made a decision, declare, those are my boys. I can even identify them with their uniforms. I'm going to punish them. But the Mirundis of Britain said, what do we get by confirming that these are British soldiers, which has attracted the anger? What did they say? The spin doctors like me. Let the BBC tell the public that the pictures, the photos we published were computer manipulated. And let the manager of BBC take an early retirement to help to restore dignity of the British Army. Can this be done in Uganda? Museveni bw'ateekawo ssente waliwo nannyini nsi agenda oziwamba aleete kano n'entu yaako n'entu muffe tukolere bwereere. Why doesn't Museveni get people who speak for him? Nannyini nsi azijjawo n'adduka. All of these radio stations, moral radio stations, TV stations, Museveni bamubanja tasasula. Ni mbasapulayiza obutabo bukyeza nga tebazisasula. Nannyini nsi mbutanjagala nina kukoleramu under his band. This is one. The matter was solved. The dignity of the British Army was restored by spin doctors. In Iraq, during the Iraqi war, Saddam Hussein tricked the American Air Force. He got a bunker, put there children and wives and women, and mounted guns, heavy guns, artillery around it and tanks. The American Air Force were made to believe, mistook it to be a bunker where Saddam Hussein was hiding. They used a smart bomb that penetrated the bunker, and about 400 women and children died. The incident was widely publicized by Al Jazeera. The American strategists, military strategists, targeted Al Jazeera, destroyed it, and journalists were killed. Why? To prevent the news which was affecting the war supporters in America. Why? These Europeans and Americans don't want to see corpses of children and women. Bush was losing the war. What did they do?
They targeted.
They brought the spin doctors. Brought the spin doctors. Every country. Wano tuyina bunnansi, tuyina akabuto bakachakaladde, tuyina kana akavubu kakala. Mbuffe kuwa naturally gifted baufana. Tuyina kukolera mu bana batujoge batufole embwa. Tuyina kukolera mu bana sente tebazituwa. This government needs experts on spin doctors. In the past, you would get American experts. There was a woman who was here, a famous woman, who used to work as a public relations officer for Museveni. When Museveni gives out money to foreign companies to do publication, what was nanyininsi, nanyininsazija, what was nanyin nakaleta, nintuya konakaleta nin. That boy is completely useless. You cannot compare my intelligence to that cabo. The chief is a gunman. Tinkola nabo. Haje tukolese kubenyondo nenkwasa omuntu. So Museveni's solution is simple. They can tell you that you have called in count pants down. There is no way the government of Uganda can defend itself. That these soldiers who are highly disciplined outside Uganda can pounce on their people without instructions. Why should the UPDF be hated in Sudan, be hated in Southern Sudan, be hated in Somalia and other countries as a highly disciplined force? What happens here when they are here? It means the problem is local. How come that when it came to the closure of Naire Bank, of Greenland Bank, Greenland Bank branch in Dar es Salaam was functioning. Greenland Bank Zanzibar was functioning. Greenland Bank Nairobi was functioning. The problem originated from here. This applies to soldiers. Why should our soldiers who are highly disciplined in other countries, when they come here, Museveni should look at this problem here. The problem is here because the problem, the concentration of rivalry for succession of Museveni is here. The people who are fighting people like me, who have been committed and loyal, are here. There is no government. I'm telling you, there is no government where you find a man like me humiliated to the bone marrow.
Someone like you, who has knowledge in
why don't you give me my own budget? No, why don't you pay me my money? A rich mirundi is a nuclear bomb. I will go naked. My family, my wife will marry other men. I will sell all my properties, but I will never work in government again. Goodbye.